Michael. So we can see definitely got more 8-hole on, which I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's looking pretty good. Now this is pretty cool. You can see that it's definitely a different style here, is that he has his main pretty much locked. I don't see too much play in the main at all, but he's using his tiller, and it's not too aggressive on the tiller, but he's definitely working the angle of his boat to the wind depending on when the breeze comes in. And if you look at Michael's lane compared to everyone else's, so what he's doing is he's working his boat up lanes, all right, where other people will work to keep the boat going as fast as they can going forward. So even though these guys have crept out a bit from him, they've got ahead of him, he's managed to stay high. And there's no right or wrong way here. It's very much down to the conditions of the day, whether you decide to sail high and try and keep a high lane and not go as fast, or do you sail off the wind and go for speed. And it also comes very much down to the size of the sailor as well, because you can see Mike is more of a slender guy. Even though he's tall, he's definitely I think he'd probably be one of the lighter sailors. So what he's going is, all right, well, I can't really go for speed, I'm going to go for pointing. And then you've got some of the heavier sailors, which will be like, oh, well, maybe I can foot off a couple of inches or a couple of degrees and go for speed. So it's a balance between how much do you point up before you start losing out to the guys who are bearing away and going for speed, and then if you're one of the guys bearing away and going for speed, how much do you bear away and go for speed before you start losing off against the guys who are pointing up. So what I would say though is, now you can see the breeze has kind of died a little bit here for sure, right? I would think that when you're in the breeze, when Mike was in the breeze, he was doing really well working it up, but I would think that once he starts coming into bits of lulls, he needs to bear off and go for more speed. So then you have both ways of sailing mixed into one upwind, which can really work, because you might be on that cuff of, like, in the light winds you're able to hike and you're able to keep the boat flat and go for speed, and then in the real heavy winds you're kind of struggling and suffering a bit, so maybe you can point up and that's when you go for pinching.